Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Chris, and on today's video, we're going to talk about what fragrance brands do to make you purchase their products. So, this topic is a little interesting. I actually thought of it and I was like, I do remember a lot of these things from whenever I worked for these brands. And it's quite fascinating if you don't know much about it. So, a lot of these brands actually resort to kind of traditional tactics to make you see their products, to make you want their products once you get into the store. We're going to talk about those tactics and see if they're deceptive or not. So, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have walked into a Macy's, a Nordstrom, a Saks Fifth Avenue, a Neiman Marcus, or even a Dillard's. Dillard's. And I'm sure all of you guys have seen the perfume counters. When you walk in, you have rows and rows of fragrances, you have rows and rows of brands. Every new release is out there mostly. And then you also have these people spraying the cards. I was once one of those people spraying the cards during the holiday season, so I'm very much aware what goes on in these stores. So, first and foremost, whenever you walk in, you usually see these posters up top, on top of the counters, and those are paid promotions or paid advertisements by the brand. So, L'Oreal, let's say, is wanting to promote C by Giorgio Armani. They're going to pay for that ad space to make sure that they are making the customer see that they have a new Giorgio Armani C. And because of that, it typically drives for people to want to purchase more items. You also get what's called a rep. Some stores, if they're bigger, will have multiple reps. So you'll have a rep for L'Oreal, you'll have a rep for Coty, you'll have a rep for Inter Parfums, and so on and so forth. So typically, brands will send in a rep. They are paid by hours and they are salarized employees of the actual brand itself. And those reps are paid essentially to incentivize you to purchase the item. So if you walk in, and L'Oreal is very much a guilty one of doing this, you walk into the store, they are given a whole stockpile of items to make you want to purchase it. And that even includes like samples. I know samples back then were not considered a big deal, but now that a lot of people are even selling samples online, I'm sure it is a bigger deal. But essentially, what they're given is, let's say you are on the fence about purchasing a gift set of Y by Yves Saint Laurent, and you're like, I don't know, I might go for Sauvage by Christian Dior. They will throw in everything in the kitchen sink as long as you purchase their products. And that can be bags, that can be samples, that can be specialized gifts that they actually have by the brand themselves. And for brands that are under L'Oreal, they'll even share things that are from another brand. So if you're buying a Giorgio Armani perfume, sometimes they'll give you a Valentino pouch or a Prada pouch, just as long as you purchase their items. And this is not exclusive to L'Oreal. I'm not, being shady towards them. They are one of the bigger ones that do this because they have quite a bit of budget. I mean, they are a money making machine for these designer houses and even for these niche houses, but every single rep out there does it. And that's going to be Coty, that's going to be Elizabeth Arden, that's going to be a Tom Ford rep. Even Dior has reps and they will do this. Chanel does this as well. So that is what reps do in store. Another way that these brands get away or make you want to purchase their items is by placement. So, department stores is where all of this started. Sephora was not really a key thing back then whenever this tactic was employed. So, if you walk into a department store, typically you see two brands, Dior, Chanel. And that is not by coincidence. That is not because they are the most popular brands that they're selling. I'm sure that they have even more popular brands or even higher selling brands than Chanel and Christian Dior, but they are placed there for an absolute reason. And that's because those brands actually pay for that slot or they incentivize the store to make sure that they get those spots. So the prime space up front, the ones with the nice displays, the walls, everything of that sort is paid promotion by the actual brand. So the brand wants a certain spot to make sure that traffic is going to go to their fragrances, that make sure that they're also going to sell these fragrances. And because of that, you tend to see most brands that pay the higher bucks up front in the nicer glass cases And then you see all the little baby brands, the brands that really don't have all that much money or that much budget for advertising or placement will be kind of in the back and kind of forgotten, which then result in those brands not being purchased as much. Unless you are a perfume lover, I'm sure you are if you're watching this video, you do not typically go into a store and say, I want this. You walk into a department store. Most of us, whenever we didn't know about fragrances, walked into a department store and someone sprayed a card for us. We liked it, we purchased it, and we were done. We left the department store and voila. So that is typically how customers actually work. And if they see a higher placement or a nicer placement of the products, they will tend to go and spray that fragrance and therefore purchase it. This is also adapted at stores like Ulta and stores like Sephora. So the difference is here. So they don't have these beautiful glass cases, these entrances that are grand and beautiful, like a Nordstrom would, a Saks Fifth Avenue would. So Sephora typically has all their fragrances in the back. Most stores, give or take the layout here and there. But what Sephora employs, and they also pay for their actual space, but Sephora is a little tricky because they will essentially place the big brands or the brands that are incentivizing the store in the middle rows, not too high, not too low, because that is going to be plain eyesight or plain view of your eyes. Therefore, you're going to want to smell those items and say, what does this new J'adore smell like? What does this new Coco Mademoiselle smell like? And therefore, that is going to result into a sell. Now, here is the tricky part. Sephora tends to lean or tends to favor LVMH brands. So you'll typically see big displays for Dior, you'll see bigger displays for Givenchy, and if they offer Guerlain, then you'll see Guerlain up on a poster somewhere. And obviously, brands like Tom Ford, Chanel will pay for space as well. But typically in Sephora, you're going to see these brands that are LVMH sister brands a little bit more favored when it comes to the retail space, which nothing bad about that. I mean, it is a game at the end of the day, and they own this store, they own this space, they're sister brands, and they're going to get a bigger cut of these sales if they do sell a Dior fragrance. And yeah, that's just how it works. Another tactic that they employ, which is a little new, obviously, with the rise of social media and the rise of the internet, these brands work very, very hard to make sure that if you type something like luxury fragrance, or if you type something like the best woman's fragrance, or what is the new best fresh fragrance, their fragrance will pop up. And they do this by paying for certain keywords for their fragrances to pop up under Google or whatever search engine you're using. 99% of people, I'm sure, using Google. I'm sure someone out there is still using Yahoo, but that is how they get you to click on their products. So if you're searching top 10 best fragrances and you see Chanel pop up every single time, it's not necessarily because it's a top 10 best smelling fragrance, because that's subjective. It is because they pay for that fragrance to pop up and to promote clicks and purchases. So these are the tactics that these brands employ. What do you think? Did you know that these brands pay for certain spaces in the store? Did you know that these reps are designed to make you purchase something, or kind of some of them actually make you feel guilty? I do remember, like, for example, L'Oreal reps. And I know this sounds like I'm being a little harsh on them. L'Oreal reps are kind of aggressive. If you don't buy, back when I worked in the industry, if you didn't buy something from them, they kind of got nasty with you. Um, I never worked for the brands. I mean, I worked for a L'Oreal brand, Giorgio Armani, but Giorgio Armani Beauty when I first started in the industry. But we were not taught to do that at Dior and Chanel, and even at some of the other brands that I freelance for. But hey, it is what it is. So just be careful if you go into the department store not to get a nasty perfume salesperson. So don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, you guys, and subscribe. Only 25% of the viewers that watch these videos are subscribed, so don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Until then, take care. Bye.